Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream. Today is 3rd of September. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news for this update on major developments that Russian media and public is paying attention to. And I hope you will find it informative, interesting, and useful. And if so, dear friends, please like the video, share the video if you can on your social pages. It might help to reach wider audience, and leave some commentary, especially if you are watching this video on YouTube, for example. After stream answer comment section is going to be open at that moment, and well, please leave some commentary, what you make of today's live stream. Give me some rating, by the way, from 1 to 10. That will count for a comment too, and that will be good feedback, by the way, to me. After a new segment, as always, I will join for a little while community chatter. And if you have any question, dear friends, that you want to ask her, or if you have a commentary that you want to be highlighted in the news in a question time segment, please use capital letters so that I will spot it easier. And of course, you can use super chat feature on my Rumble channel. By the way, I'm streaming simultaneously on YouTube and Rumble, so you can use a super chat feature or rant feature on Rumble to send your comment or the question, and I will definitely won't miss that. Okay, that's been said, dear friends, a lot of news to unpack, so let's start our news segment now. And first of all, let me give you this report. And of course, one of the main topics, if not the main topic here today, is 80th anniversary of the victory in the Second World War. And there was a massive parade, by the way, massive celebration in Beijing, where Russian President Vladimir Putin is at this moment. And well, let me give you some details, by the way. Probably many of you have seen videos of the parade. A lot of military equipments, a lot of tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, drones, and there was air show too. So it's a large-scale parade that was held in Beijing, capital of China, to celebrate 18th anniversary of their victory in World War II. Ceremony was attended by Russian President Vladimir Putin, Chinese President Xi Jinping, DPRK leader Kim Jong-un, and the heads of the states and the government from 24 other countries, by the way. So big delegations are in Beijing now to celebrate this great day. And once again, this is yet another reason to remember, dear friends, all the atrocities that was committed not just by Nazi Germany on the European continent, also in Africa, but by Japan too. And Japanese fascists, by the way, during the Second World War, killed at least about 20 million people. In China, in Korea, in all their other occupied areas, they were treating people horribly bad, by the way. Some might argue that, well, Japanese were treating people even worse than Nazi Germany was doing. So it's an 80th anniversary, thanks to a generation of our grandfathers and great-grandfathers. We had the opportunity to celebrate this victory, and we have opportunity to live itself, to have this life and be alive, right? So great gratitude to everyone who fought for us during the Second World War. Putin, as already mentioned, took part in anniversary military parade in Beijing. And he, after the military parade, by the way, Russian president had a meeting with the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un. Sides discussed bilateral relationships, and these relationships are improving very rapidly, by the way, very rapidly. And it seems like North Korea is actually opening for Russia. North Korea is opening step by step, little by little, but opening its borders, opening its economy for Russia. And the process continues, by the way. Tens of billions of investments from Russia are going to flood North Korea, and in 10, 15 years' time, this republic would not be recognizable. That's how tremendous positive changes are going to be. Also, dear friends, while I'm talking about this great celebration that was done in China, we have this report that China abolishes visas from Russians from September 15, which is also a great deal, by the way. Russian citizens had the opportunity to travel in China without any any special difficulties or extraordinary difficulties, but well, now there will be no visas, by the way, so people will cross the border without wasting any much time for visas, and I guess Russian tourists can flood China, right? If there was a certain level of Russian tourism in China, now I guess tourist companies will do a great deal of advertising everywhere they can, right? And to make some buck, by the way, and they will encourage Russian citizens even more to travel to China. And yes, it's going to be beneficial, by the way. There is a lot of tourists from China here in Russia, and the Russian tourists will go in China and get to know local culture, history, better people, right? So it's all good. And on the sidelines of this celebration of 80th anniversary of victory in the Second World War, well, there was an episode when Russian president met with the president of Azerbaijan. Earlier, dear friends, there was speculations that there might be some negotiations between the two leaders on the sidelines of Shanghai Cooperation Organization that took place just a few days ago in Tianjin city of China, but such a meeting did not take place. And today, on the sidelines of this celebration, two leaders met each other and they shared their handshake, but that's all. Let me show you a video, dear friends, of that meeting. Here, Aliyev was talking to, I believe, President of Serbia, and if I'm not mistaken, representative of Indonesia. I might be wrong on that, but this is definitely President of Serbia, Vučić there. And at this point, and they exchange our handshake, and that's it. That's it, by the way. It seems like Russian president not in a mood to forget and definitely not in a mood to forgive escalation from Azerbaijan against Russia on orders of London, by the way. If this escalation was due to some misunderstanding between the sides, right? That's a different story. Sides could talk out from their misunderstanding, right? But because Baku or leadership of Azerbaijan acted, I believe, on behalf of
completely different,
London,
but
under
big
the orders of London, by the way. Therefore, I don't think relationships gonna get any better anytime soon between the sides. If ever, as long as Azerbaijan is led by Aliyev, by the way, he cannot be trusted. So many red lines have been crossed. But this is my personal opinion, by the way. I will remind you that despite harsh statements from Azerbaijani side, hostility from Azerbaijani side, Russian diplomats, Russian officials were always very cautious in the statements, very diplomatic in the statements. But nevertheless, as it expected, by the way, from high-level politicians and the diplomats, but nevertheless, I think relationships between Moscow and Baku will not go back to normal until Aliyev is in power there. My personal opinion. Okay, dear friends, let's continue with some other news. And well, Trump was not happy, dear friends, with this celebration of 80th anniversary in Beijing, this massive celebration. And he come up with a claim that Russia, China, and North Korea are conspiring against the US. Let me give you some details. So, President of US Donald Trump has accused China, Russia, and North Korea of conspiring against the US. He made the remarks on his Truth Social platform. I mean, this is new normal, by the way, when all sorts of social platforms being used for communication by at least number of leaders, by the way. And thanks God, Russian president is not doing this kind of stuff, man. But a US president does, right? Which is not normal. Yet again, if he was some blogger or I don't know, man, some political commentator, okay, who cares? But he is a president of a major economical and military superpower, and to communicate with the world through social platforms, it's not okay. You have a press service. You can arrange a press conference anytime you want and make your statements then and there, right? Not through these freaking social platforms, but I mean, anyways, man, this is quite telling, by the way, about degradation of political class in US or in the collective West in general, by the way, right? Another indicator of that. Anyways, he made these remarks on his Truth Social platform during a military parade in Beijing on Wednesday, marking the victory of the Japan in World War II. Many Americans died in China, Trump wrote in his Truth Social. Many Americans died in China's quest for victory and the glory. I hope they are rightfully honored and remembered for their bravery and their sacrifice. And I don't think Trump needed to say this, because no one is forgetting role that US or British or Australian or Indian or any other militaries from any other countries, by the way, play to defeat Nazi Germany and its allies, including Japan. We are not forgetting about it. It's Trump, by the way, and the Western so-called elites that are trying to rewrite basically history and ignore the role of Soviet people. Crucial role of the Soviet people in victory in the Second World War, and this is unacceptable. But Trump can chill. We are not forgetting sacrifice that militaries and societies of other countries go through for this victory, right? He also wished Chinese President Xi Jinping a great and lasting day of celebration, before adding, please give me warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America. I mean, very childish comment. What you will make of it, dear friends? This is I don't know. This is not a comment that some 80, almost 80, right? He's 79. This is not a comment that 79-year-old man should write. Man that has seen the life, right? But anyways, that's a Trump for you, right? And yes, he's wrong. He is wrong, by the way. If any side is conspiring against anybody, it's a collective West. It's a collective West, by the way, that is forcing the rest of the world to not just get together to defend itself, but also to kind of distance itself from the collective West that is tremendously hostile due to crazies, literally crazies, and morons and the despicable elements in the leadership of the collective West. It's just factual, right? You might like it or not, but this is just factual. Take a look at the history, by the way. I mean, all these world wars, by the way, and all their death and destruction in last number of centuries, at least, mainly is due to criminal activity of the leadership of the collective West. It's just history, right? And you cannot rewrite that. It's a history. And well, Russian side, by the way, Russian side reacted on this poster of Donald Trump with the allegation against Russia, in particular, also China and North Korea. And the aide of Russian President Yuri Ushakov called Trump's words about this attempted conspiracy against the US ironic, Yet again, the Russian side is so freaking diplomatic, isn't it? So diplomatic. Sometimes this is irritating. This extreme level of politeness and in comments sometimes is irritating. By the way, maybe these hostiles don't deserve this level of politeness, even though, yes, I mean, Russian leadership, including Yuri Ushakov, by the way, they have great school of education, obviously. They went through great school of experience, right? Before they reach current levels, current high levels, and they're not going to change. By the way, they are operating in a way that they fit it necessary and correct. And it's good, by the way, it's good that Russian politicians are demonstrating this high class, right? But nevertheless, you'll agree with me probably that this extreme politeness sometimes can be irritating, right? Anyways, let me give you a little more details. There we have a quote from Ushakov. I think Donald Trump said, not without irony, that supposedly these three are plotting against the United States. I won't say that no one was plotting, no one was waving anything. The Kremlin spokesman stated, and yes, yet again, I mean, if anyone is playing destructive role in this on this planet, is collective West, by the way, first and foremost, right? And that has to be addressed if we want to deal with all the other issues that world is facing. And well, it is interesting that Trump forget to mention India. By the way, he mentioned China, Russia, North Korea. He could mention many other countries, including India, that he kind of hates nowadays, right? Well, it's good that he didn't mention India. Maybe someone instructed him or lectured him how to behave with New Delhi. I don't know, but when he hears this news, he's not gonna get any more happier. So we have a report, by the way, that Russia and India discussing possibility of expanding S-400 supplies, and S-400 is, of course, Russian one of the, or if not the best air defense systems that there is in the world. Maybe only another Russian air defense system, S-500, is better. Not maybe, that S-500 is better than this, but in the West, there is nothing even to compare with the S-400, and India seems like are very happy with the work of S-400 during the recent confrontation with Pakistan, and they want more S-400s to be supplied from Russia. Negotiations already have started on that, and it's not just air defense systems, by the way. Russian and Indian militaries are cooperating for decades. Russian military-industrial complex and Indian military-industrial complex have a long history of cooperation, and this will continue no matter how much Washington or any other Western capital would like to see destruction of this warm, friendly, strategical relationships between Moscow and New Delhi. And dear friends, before I continue with some other news, and there is a lot to discuss there, let me just highlight that if you like my work, you can support through PayPal platform, dear friends. If also Boosty platforms, if you want to see this project being saved and maybe even further developed. Also, you can subscribe on my Patreon page, where I have a lot of extra content on a regular basis. Lately, I began publishing second news updates, and there are extras, basically, literally on every weekday. Also, dear friends, you can support, you can subscribe not just to my Patreon, but if you don't like Patreon for whatever reason, you can subscribe to my Boosty page. I'm publishing same stuff on both my pages. There, links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment, and during the live stream. So right now, that is, whenever I am on air, you can use the super chat feature on Rumble to donate, and also you can become premium subscriber on Rumble. This is also option. All support counts, dear friends. Thanks to you, I'm able to maintain this project for 3 years already, isn't it? And thank you very much. Thank you very much for this support. Many thanks to everybody who supported and continues to do so. That's been said, dear friends. Let's continue with some more news now. And what is next? Next is this report from RIA Novosti that air defense forces on duty intercepted 105 drones that were launched by Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky to strike deep into Russian territory. I can give you some specifics on that. During the past night, from 2300 hours, that is from 11 o'clock yesterday late evening to 7 o'clock this morning, Moscow time, air defense systems on duty intercepted and destroyed 105 Ukrainian aircraft type unmanned aerial vehicles. 25 drones were intercepted over the territory of Rostov region, 24 drones over the Bryansk region, 20 in the Krasnodar region, 15 in over the Black Sea, 10 in Kaluga region, 8 in territory of the Republic of Crimea, 2 drones over the waters of Azov, and 1 drone over the territory of Smolensk region. Quite a wide geography of this attempted long-range strikes deep into Russia, which is unfortunate, of course, but yet again, as long as this conflict continues, globalists and globalist control regimes in the collective West, especially in Europe, will continue to provide the regime and their specialists on the ground with this long-range strike capabilities. And well, Russian air defense systems are on lock and ready, by the way, to deal with these aerial targets. And vast majority of drones are intercepted on regular basis. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that Russian armed forces liberated Fyodorovka settlement in DPR. This is a southern flank of Seversk city, dear friends, and because just a couple of days ago, head of Russian General Staff Valery Gerasimov reported about battles inside the Seversk itself, and many experts assume that Russian troops entered the Seversk from the northern flank. And now we have a report about Russian progress in the southern flank. Well, one might assume that soon Russian troops will enter Seversk from the southern sectors also, and hopefully in next week or two. It might take a little longer, but eventually, of course, Seversk will be completely liberated, as all the other villages, towns, and bigger cities in a DPR. Also, TASS news agency is reporting, and this is yesterday's report, dear friends, about previous 24 hours, that during that period of time, Kiev regime's forces lost about 1,300 military personnel on the battlefield all along the front line. And this is members of our community who watches my updates on daily basis. They know that this is a usual level of casualties on the side of Kiev regime, 13 to 1,500 military personnel on daily basis, which is a horrific number, of course, of the casualties. But that's what happens when there is a high intensity conflict on the ground, and all these losses, all this destruction could be avoided, by the way, if not a destructive role of the Western ruling class, right? That first basically destroyed the Budapest memorandum while inviting Ukraine into NATO. That happened officially in 2008, right? Then very same Western so-called elites orchestrated bloody coup d'etat in 2014 in Kiev, and provoked eventually, with the constant escalation, provoked this proxy war that they are actively engaged now against Russia. All this could be avoided if Western ruling class behaved adequately. But unfortunately, there are no adequate people among Western leadership. RT is also reporting that Kiev wants largest Christian denomination in Ukraine on Kiev-controlled territory to be banned, by the way, completely. They terrorize Russian Orthodox, they terrorize Ukrainian Orthodox people. They tortured their many churches, by the way, many Orthodox churches, destroyed, blew up, burned down, right? Many priests have been arrested. And now, after this terror campaign, they want to completely ban on a legislative level Orthodox Christianity in Kiev-controlled territory, which is insane, right? Which is absolutely insane, and that's their regime, by the way. That's the terrorist criminal regime that Western elites are supporting. This evil force that Western so-called elites are. That's who they are supporting, and basically, not surprisingly, of course, evil force will support evil ideas and evil elements that they have implemented in the Kiev-controlled territory, and they are attacking Orthodox Christianity now. So authorities in Kiev have filed their case with Ukraine's top administrative court to have the Ukrainian Orthodox Church legally dissolved. Since the escalation of the Ukrainian conflict in February 2022, Vladimir Zelensky's government has taken increasingly hard line against the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, seizing several of its properties and opening criminal cases against a number of its clerks. And it's not just 2022, by the way. Since 2014, Orthodox Christians were attacked. And CIA and other criminal organizations, terrorist organizations from the West, encourage Kiev regime to create their own church. I mean, this is not the way things work, actually. But yes, that's what they did, by the way. They created their fake church, right? And they are claiming now that this fake organization to be their, actual Orthodox Church, which is, insane, right? That is a sin. What they committed, by the way, is a sin, unforgivable sin in Christianity, right? And for a reason, by the way, among all the Orthodox churches, over a dozen Orthodox churches in this world, only few, Greek Orthodox Church and Patriarch of Constantinople, acknowledged that fake church that Kiev regime created with the assistance of its Western backers as a legit. No Orthodox churches in this world actually acknowledge that. Of course, Russian Orthodox Church didn't acknowledge them to be Christians, to be legit. Georgian Orthodox Church didn't acknowledge them. And by the way, Georgian Orthodox Church is one of the oldest, if not the oldest Orthodox churches in this world, right? And what Georgian Patriarch have to say is very important. And Georgian Orthodox Church says, no way, by the way. No way. This is not the way Orthodox Christianity operates, right? Yet again, evil force that Western ruling elites are doing evil things, and they are attacking Orthodox Church big time on Kiev-controlled territory, and they want to ban it. It would not work, of course, by the way, because church is based on beliefs of the people, right? If people don't believe, then the church would not exist, and they're not gonna force people, at least majority of the people on Kiev-controlled territory, to commit sin and either transfer to this fake Orthodox Church that they created, or to get rid of the believer entirely. It's not happening. It's just not happening. But I would like Western societies to know, by the way, what kind of evil their so-called elites are supporting in this so-called Ukraine. RT is also reporting that a suspected killer of Ukrainian neo-Nazi MP denies working for Russia. Dear friends, I reported a couple of days ago that one of the leading figures in Ukrainian neo-Nazi fascistic movements, Parubiy, who was at one point speaker of the parliament there in Ukraine, called Rada, was killed in Lvov, western Ukrainian city. And straight away, based on information that was available, including the information that shooter executed this neo-Nazi with 8 shots, right? With he shot him 8 times, right? That was initial reports, and I said straight away, I mean, this did not look that professional did it, right? Because professionals, in my understanding, will use maybe 2 shots, 1 in the body, 1 in the head, maybe 3 shots max, just in case, 2 in the body, 1 in the head. Not eight shots, by the way. It's just a waste of time, right? And the bullets, really. And therefore, I said straight away that even though Kyiv regime will most likely blame Russia for killing of this neo-Nazi criminal, and I would have no issue, by the way. I would say great job if Russian security services were involved in some ways to eliminate this neo-Nazi mass murderer. But I said straight away, it does not look that professional was operating there, right? And this is exactly the case. This is exactly their case. Suspect of this murder was arrested by Kyiv regime's forces, and reporters, while this suspect was brought to court, so-called court on Kyiv-controlled territory, there were reporters there, and they began pounding this person with questions about his potential connections with the Russian secret services and this and that. And he said in Ukrainian, by the way, so-called Ukrainian, to all those reporters that he was operating on his own, and this was a vendetta, his own personal vendetta against the regime, and Russia has nothing to do with it. Let me give you some details on that. The suspected killer of the permanent Ukrainian far-right politician Andrei Parubiy has denied any links to Russia, stating that the murder was an act of personal revenge against the country's authorities. Parubiy was shot 8 times on Saturday on a street in the western Ukrainian city of Lvov. The attacker fled the scene but was apprehended by Ukrainian law enforcement on Monday. The suspect, identified as a 52-year-old Lvov resident Mikhail Stelnikov, appeared in a court on Tuesday. The alleged killer received an opportunity to speak to reporters about the motives behind the attack and claimed he had not had a specific grudge against the Parubiy. And we have a quote from him: "Yes, I have killed him. He was close. If I lived in Vinnytsia, it would have been a Petya." The suspect stated, apparently referring to former Ukrainian President Pyotr Poroshenko. Stelnikov denied the allegations that he had been recruited by Russian intelligence to kill Parubiy, describing the claim as untrue. Earlier media reports suggested that Stelnikov has been contacted by Russian special services through social media as he tried to learn the fate of his son, a Ukrainian serviceman presumed killed in the Battle of Bakhmut, during the Battle of Bakhmut. And another quote here: "All I want now is for the verdict to be announced sooner, and I want to ask to be exchanged for prisoners of war so that I can leave for Russia and find the body of my son," the suspect said. So he had some personal reasons, by the way. His son, allegedly, because he has no information what had happened to him, probably Kyiv regime described his son as a missing or deserted, by the way, as they do quite often, not to pay compensations to the family members of the killed military personnel. And he had personal motives to be angry on this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. And now his hope is that he will be exchanged during the POW exchanges, and then he will have opportunity to at least learn some more about his son. Maybe this will happen, although I don't know. I don't think so. Probably neo-Nazis will kill him in a prison. But I don't know. That's the story, by the way. That's the story behind this neutralization of Ukrainian neo-Nazi. And I will just remind you, dear friends, that Parubiy is a former parliamentary speaker and a long-time MP in so-called Ukraine. Was known for his hardline ultranationalist and neo-Nazi views. He took an active part in 2004 Orange Revolution, so-called, and then in the 2014 Maidan coup d'etat, where he coordinated far-right groups of violent and armed protesters. By the way, reports are, and video footage is suggesting also, that I shared on my Telegram and Twitter page just like a couple of days ago, that he was actually engaged in orchestrating this sniper fire on civilians and law enforcement officers on Maidan, as a result of which about 100 people were killed, by the way. And then this murder of so many people was used as justification for a coup d'etat. So Parubiy, he was orchestrating that sniper fire, by the way, right? That was a false flag operation. And I'm quite sure Western secret services were involved in that, because even before that sniper fire happened, I was commenting on whatever social platforms I had at the time that such a stuff might happen, sniper fire, which will then be used to justify overthrowing the government. And I had reasons to believe that this would happen, because our whole this coup d'etat was orchestrated by Western secret services, right? US secret services, British secret services, and so on. And I remember quite well what they did in one of the Baltic states, right? Where they're also, during the end times of Soviet Union, basically, when they also orchestrated a sniper fire, right, on civilians. And there is even videos, by the way, when one of the organizers is admitting that. So this person, by the way, no one will cry for him. This is a mass murderer and a terrorist. And there are also reports, by the way, that Parubiy have played a role in the fire at the trade union house in Odessa in 2014 that led to death of dozens of anti-Maidan demonstrators. People were burned alive in that trade union house by these neo-Nazis, and Parubiy had a role in that atrocity too. And yet again, that's the people that West is supporting. That's the people that West is supporting. It's sickening, isn't it? It is. Some more news, dear friends. In Beijing, yesterday, Russian president had a meeting with the Prime Minister of Slovakia, Roberto Fico. I believe from Western countries or from collective West, only two countries sent their delegations to participate in today's 80th today's celebration of 80th anniversary of the victory in the Second World War. And these two countries are Slovakia and Hungary. Prime Minister of Slovakia is there, and I believe Foreign Minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjártó, also arrived there in Beijing yesterday late evening, right? No others, by the way, which is quite telling, isn't it? So Putin, by the way, while having conversations with Roberto Fico, Prime Minister of Slovakia, suggested that EU states should respond to Ukraine's attacks on energy flow with some countermeasures. And he highlighted what countermeasures he actually means. So Bratislava could retaliate against Ukrainian attacks on its oil deliveries by cutting off energy supplies to their country. Russian President Vladimir Putin told the Slovak Prime Minister directly, by the way, in face, Robert Fico, during the meeting in Beijing on Tuesday. And this is true. I mean, why you are playing around? This Kiev regime is clearly hostile towards your people, towards your economy, towards your country. Same goes for Hungary. And why you are allowing this to happen? Take some action. Slovakia and Hungary, which rely on Russian oil shipments through the Druzhba pipeline, have accused Kiev of deliberately disrupting their imports with the military strikes. Putin compared the situation to Moscow's own experience when Ukrainian forces struck Russian energy infrastructure. We had maintained a restraint for the long time as Ukrainian troops struck our energy sites. Eventually, we started retaliations, and our retaliation now is, shall we say, serious. Putin stated. The Russian leader noted that Slovakia and Hungary have a leverage of their own, since Ukraine depends on energy imports from from its Eastern European neighbors cut off their supply of gas via reverse flow, cut off electricity supply, and they will realize at once that there are limits to their behavior that violate other parties' interests. Putin suggested. I don't think Fico will do that. I don't think Hungary, not just Slovakia, but I don't think even Hungary will cut off energy supplies to Kyiv regime, at least now, despite some strong statements that was made by these countries. But you never know. You never know. Fico said he intends to pressure Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky over the issue during the meeting scheduled for this Friday, and expressed opposition to Brussels' goal of fully cutting off imports of Russian oil and gas by the end of 2027. We will be voting against such a decision, he said. I am certain that things will change before January 1st, 2028, and that the Repower EU initiative would not go forward since it would cause as much damage, according to Fico. But yet again, let's focus on current situation. Let's focus on current situation, and if that will be the policy of either Bratislava or Budapest, by the way, capitals of Slovakia and Hungary, then they should take retaliatory measures right now. Right now. After all, a couple of days ago, there was reports, isn't it, that Hungary alone already lost more than 22 billion euros, by the way, due to this proxy war that West is waging against Russia and due to terrorist activity of the Kyiv regime. 22 billion euros, by the way. It's quite a lot of money, isn't it? Quite a lot of money for any country. And for sure for Hungary, right? So talk is good, but there have to be some steps beyond that to deter that terrorist regime in Kiev. Let's see. Maybe Hungary and Slovakia will change their current policies and become more proactive to deter this hostile entity. Who knows? RT is reporting that, Fico also stated, by the way, during the very same conversation with the Russian president, that Ukraine is free to pursue EU membership, but it cannot be allowed to join NATO. He also noted that while every country has the right to decide its future, there are a lot of issues regarding Kyiv's accession to the EU. He stressed that Slovakia believes Ukraine needs to fulfill all the demands that are necessary for it to become a member of the bloc, and said he would discuss this issue during the upcoming meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. On the one hand, we support Ukraine in this regard, but on the other hand, I emphasize, I have said since the very beginning that Ukraine cannot become a member of NATO. This is my final decision, Fico said. And of course, Ukraine cannot become NATO member state because NATO's foundational documents are clearly saying that country that has some territorial issues and is engaged in military hostilities cannot become NATO member. So in order to bring in Ukraine, NATO countries have to change these foundational documents first, right? And this is not happening. They might change whatever they want, but Ukraine will never join NATO anyways, because they're going to be no more Ukraine on the political map, most likely after this conflict will end. That's it. And longer collective West will prolong this proxy war, the chances that Ukraine will not exist on the political map after the conflict will only increase. That's how it is, right? Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that Russia and the United States will hold a new round of consultations through the foreign ministries. Some consultations continue between the two sides, and soon probably we will see some meeting, maybe to discuss potential Trump-Putin negotiations, or maybe to discuss some other issues, God knows what. But yes, there is work done to organize such a meeting. Interfax is also reporting that, well, Trump, by the way, yesterday, during his speech in the White House, stated that he learned something, some new aspects of the Ukrainian settlement, and all of us gonna learn about it in a few days' time. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Tuesday that he had learned of new details related to Ukrainian settlement. The American leader called them interesting. I learned new aspects. This is quote, by the way, from his statement. I learned new aspects that could be very interesting. I think in a few days you will learn too. And well, what is that new aspects, by the way? I don't know. Russian position is not changing. Russian position is well known for a very long time, right? Way before Trump entered the White House second time. If there is any changes in the position of globalists and globalist control regimes in Europe or in the position of US, then okay, we will wait a couple of days to learn what that changes are. But I'm not sure Trump himself knows what he's talking about. I don't know, right? And also Trump threatened, by the way, same time Trump threatened to change US policy on Ukraine conflict. So if the results of the meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Anchorage do not meet Washington's expectations, the United States will change its position on the conflict in Ukraine. US President Donald Trump said, according to Trump, the meeting with the Russian president went very well. We'll see if it leads to anything. If not, we'll take a different position. Thus quotes Trump as saying, and I mean, this is, I lost count, by the way, how many times Trump threatened Russia. Should we pay attention to it? Probably yes, because he's a US president, but yet again, this is Trump, right? Today he might say one thing, tomorrow something different, day after against something else. So therefore, you just don't know what the hell is going on there, isn't it? And by the way, when it comes to Trump, yesterday he was asked how we see these reports about he being dead. And you know, dear friends, he was not seen in the public for a couple of days during the last weekend, and straight away speculations began that he was hospitalized, he was dead, and this and that, right? I shared that information, and I said that I don't think he is dead, or he is experiencing some medical emergency, but I could not know for sure, of course, right? And yesterday he was making this press conference, right? And just look at
it. How did you find out?
That's how he looks, by the way. I mean, he is an elderly man, right? He's almost 80, and he may not be in a best shape, but he's definitely not dead, and he's definitely not in the same bad shape as Biden was, by the way. And even Trump mentioned that when Biden for an entire month will make no appearance in the public, it was all good. But he did not have appearance for a couple of days, and speculations began straight away about he being dead or this or that, which is clearly indicates how biased this so-called media is, isn't it, in the West? It's a globalist control media, mainly, right? And truly cannot be trusted, by the way. It's a destructive force, as globalists themselves are a destructive force. Same can be said about this media, so-called media in the West.
The weekend that you were dead. You see that?
No.
People didn't see you for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. I have heard it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him. And we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did
I don't
an
know what
interview
to
that-
make, by the way. He is clearly live, right? And he is communicating. He's there, right? He is there mentally, seems like, right? He may not be brightest ever president that US has, but he is there, right? So that's it, really, that I can say. Speculations probably will continue in regards to Trump, his health. What is the chances that he will be in office to the end of his presidency? On that, I shared my take like a number of days ago. I think Trump might be removed from office. He might leave White House earlier, not because he's dead or some medical emergency, but because of the policies that he's engaged in. And first of all, I'm talking about cover-up of Epstein files. This is a big deal, and Americans, by the way, as far as I can tell, U.S. citizens, people that vote for Trump, are very much not happy with this cover-up that is going on of this whole Epstein story. They are also not happy that U.S. continues to be engaged in this proxy war against Russia. They voted U.S. to get out of the wars, right? And Trump did not fulfill this promise too. And not just did not fulfill, but it's maybe we are just days away before U.S. will get engaged in another war, this time in Latin America against Venezuela. So there is a reasons why America First forces may not be happy with the Trump, right? And well, if America First is strong enough, America First forces are strong enough, they might actually use legal means there in US to remove Trump from office. And there is a reason to believe that he is compromised, by the way. People are not happy with his policies in regards to Israel, right? And therefore, America First forces may initiate actually impeachment process one way or another based on legal ways that exist, and remove him from office and let J.D. Vance to lead the country until next presidential elections. So that's the reason, by the way, that Trump might actually leave office earlier than his presidency. In my personal opinion, right? This is a possibility, but I don't think he's gonna leave office because he's dead or some medical emergency. You know, he probably has better medics around there. He's gonna do well, probably another 10, 15 years, maybe. Who knows? But you know, that's my take on the situation. Anyways, dear friends, let's continue with some more news. And well, when it comes to destructive role that collective Western ruling class, globalists and globalist control European regimes are playing in this world, including in this proxy war that they are waging against Russia. Well, British Defense Secretary John Haley just arrived in Kiev today, this morning, and you know, you guessed what they're gonna talk about. Further terrorist activity. It's not just about Haley, by the way. With Haley, there are a bunch of other terrorists and criminals are visiting Kiev, isn't it? From a British leadership, and those criminals will discuss with their counterparts from Kiev regime side terrorist activity that they have pre-planned, including long-range terrorist attacks on Russia. Right? They're gonna discuss escalation. Definitely not the escalation, isn't it? And we all know that. Maybe some nuances will come out of this trip of British Defense Secretary to Kiev, and if so, I will of course share additional information during my second update today on Patreon and Boosty. And also, dear friends, let me once again highlight what Russian position is. Sergei Lavrov, for the morons that are representing ruling class of the West currently, reiterated once again that to achieve lasting peace in Ukraine, inclusion of Crimea, Donbass, and Novorossiya, that is Kherson, Zaporozhye regions, into Russia must be recognized at the international level. Also important is to eliminate the root causes of the conflict, and their NATO enlargement and their attempts to draw Ukraine into it is completely unacceptable. That's Moscow's position. That is not changing, by the way. But time and again, Russian leadership, including Lavrov, is basically forced kind of to reiterate already known position because they constantly asked by journalists, right? And well, they are answering same answer. They are giving same answers time and again, right? This is basics. This is basics, and it will not change. Russian position on the matter will not change. That's it. TASS news agency is reporting that Houthi rebels claimed attack on Israeli army general headquarters. So Yemeni Houthis from the rebel movement Ansar Allah attacked 4 sites in Israel with the drones, including the General Staff building. This was stated by the movement's military spokesman Yair Saria on the air of Houthi on the Al-Masira TV channel. Drone strikes also hit Ben Gurion Airport, the Ashdod seaport, and the power plant in Tel Aviv. He said, adding that their attacks successfully achieved their objectives, according to a spokesman for the Houthi-led army forces. This is a statement from Houthi rebels, by the way, or Ansar Allah movement. We don't know how effective this drone strike was. Israeli side did not commented on that. At least I did not see any information on that. So therefore, hard to tell. Hard to tell. It well might be that Houthi rebels successfully struck these 4 sites that they are mentioning. RT is also reporting that Russia, China, and North Korea I already spoke about this, right? Yes, that's the news that I want to share, dear friends. US Congress releases the first batch of Epstein files, which is, well, interesting, I guess, although I'm quite sure all the sensitive information will be hidden from the public anyways. I think so. House Oversight and Government Reform Committee has released more than 33,000 pages of documents related to this disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The U.S. Congressional Committee posted a link to the 33,295 pages on its website Tuesday evening. Chairman James Comer subpoenaed the files from the U.S. Department of Justice last month after DOJ and FBI review concluded that Epstein had kept no client list. Their disclosure prompted the Democrats and some Republicans to accuse President Donald Trump of cover-up. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, Comer promised full transparency and pledged to release the rest of the files as soon as possible. We will continue to follow the facts and seek justice for these survivors, their oversight committee said on X. Well, I don't know if you believe anybody from U.S. so-called political elites, by the way. Me personally, I'm quite sure they're not gonna release actually sensitive information. I don't think that is happening. Only in case sensitive information, including about potential Trump's involvement in all those crimes, might be released only if America First forces actually made the decision to remove Trump and to let J.D. Vance to do the job of the president. Only in that case, I think sensitive information will be released, and we will learn at least some truth about all these horrendous crimes that Jeffrey Epstein and his fellows committed. Let's see, by the way. Also, Trump yesterday, by the way, announced, it was yesterday, isn't it? He announced that National Guard will enter Chicago. He posted on his True Social that at least 54 people were shot in Chicago over a weekend. 8 people were killed. The list 2 weekends were similar. Chicago is the worst and the most dangerous city in the world by far. Pritzker, who is, I guess, a local governor or something, needs help badly. He just does not know it yet. I will solve the crime problems fast, just like I did in DC. Chicago will be safe again and soon make America great again, Trump wrote on his True Social. And, well, I mean, he has a point when he says that Chicago is not a safe city, by the way. It's not just Chicago, but plenty of places in US are in total decline, right? In total decline. And sometimes from Chicago, for example, reports are coming in about the shootings and how many people were killed and wounded that are truly can be associated to the war zone, right? I mean, just look at these numbers in particular. I mean, at least 54 people were shot in Chicago over the weekend. I mean, this is crazy, isn't it? Is there a police in Chicago? What the hell, man? And I know there is a gun culture and that kind of stuff. You know what? Bring some special forces. You know these gangs. Declare them terrorist organizations, and you know how terrorists are treated. Declare these gang groups terrorist organizations and treat them as such. And that's it, man. You bring in special forces, execute all these gang members in a day or two. That's it. End of story, man. Simple. It's simple, right? And I don't take this crazy stuff that, well, they are humans and they have some right. No, they are criminals, right? And criminals do have some rights sometimes, right? But their rights definitely are not worth more than the lives of decent citizens, right? Am I correct on that? So therefore, just bringing special forces, execute these terrorists, man. Just designate them as a terrorist first, right? And deal with them. It's crazy, man. Terrorism criminals should be treated as harshly as possible, man. Just kill them all. That's it, man. Right? This is the only way if you want to deal with the situation. If I was US president, I would definitely authorize special forces, go in, kill them all these gangs, right? Execute on the spot. End of story. And yet again, I mean, some these ultra leftist crazies might disagree with me, but I don't give a fuck about it too, right? And about them too, right? I just don't care, man. I have no mercy for terrorists and the criminals and that kind of stuff, right? Trump also went to hint on Venezuela's link to drug trafficking. Once again, he even shared some video of destruction of some boat or something, and he said that this is drug traffickers that are linked to Maduro's regime. Basically, Trump continues to push for a war with Venezuela, and the U.S. gonna end up in that war. By the way, it's only at this point there can be no doubts that U.S. gonna end up in that war. And if people of Venezuela, it's all about people, by the way. If people of Venezuela don't want to see their country being recolonized and run by Washington, they will put up a fight. Even if U.S. military successfully eliminate current leadership of Venezuela, ordinary people will put up fight if they don't want their country to be recolonized. And I don't think U.S. can defeat people of Venezuela. They can defeat Maduro's regime, by the way. but I don't think they can defeat the people of Venezuela. So therefore, it's all depends on people's mood there in Venezuela. Will they support recolonization of their country or not? If they don't, then U.S. has no chances, and better they stay out of Venezuela, man. In that case, right? Anyways, it definitely seems like war there is inevitable. Escalation, military escalation is inevitable. Also, dear friends, let me share with you this chart here, sort of about Europe's economy based on a purchasing power parity index, right? So to break it down, Europe in general is a $43.8 trillion economy. This map shows the size of each European economy based on the purchasing power parity or PPP index, a more accurate way to compare wealth by adjusting for a local cost of living, which is actually more accurate, isn't it? Because the same goods and services here in Russia might cost either higher or less than somewhere in, I don't know, in Czech Republic, for example, or in Italy, or in UK, or Germany, or France. There is different cost everywhere, right? For very same goods and services, by the way. It's different prices in different countries. So this PPP index, I think, actually more accurate than GDP index, right? And well, based on PPP index, Germany's economy is $6.2 trillion. France's economy is 4.5 trillion. Netherlands is 1.5 trillion. Eastern European countries have 12.8 trillion, by the way, combined, outperforming northern countries and the southern countries of Europe, mostly due to Russia, which alone accounts for 7.2 trillion in PPP index. So Russia is, by the way, number one economy in Europe based on PPP index. Don't tell this to these globalists and the globalist control freaking regimes there in Europe, right? That are love to call Russia gas station and stuff. So yes, Russian economy based on PPP index is 7.2 trillion. By the way, Poland is 2.2 trillion. UK is 4.4 trillion. Italy is 3.7 trillion. Spain is 2.8 trillion. So no European country is coming close to Russia. Germany maybe 6.2 trillion. Russia is 7.2 trillion. So there is a trillion difference, which is huge, isn't it? So that's some interesting information, I guess, there, isn't it? Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that Eastern Economic Forum 2025 opens in Vladivostok, far east of Russia. The event of the Eastern Economical Forum are held on the campus of the Far East Federal University. The main theme of the forum this year is the Far East Cooperation for Peace and Prosperity. More than 70 countries, more than 70 by the way, more than 70 countries and the territories have confirmed their participation in the forum. The most representative delegation will be from Vietnam, India, China, Laos, Malaysia, and Thailand. Tigers, by the way, tigers from Indo-Pacific, and this is great. This is great. By the way, we need more cooperation. We need more cooperation. Multipolar world needs more cooperation, and of course, this will benefit foundational stones of the multipolar world. That is Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the BRICS, of course, right? So I think this is also important news. I'm quite sure contracts on tens of billions of dollars will be signed during the few days of this forum. Also, TASS News Agency is reporting that, well, even though Japan, by the way, can benefit greatly if Tokyo would have a decent, normal relationships, adequate attitude towards Russia and normal relationships. But unfortunately, due to whatever reasons, Tokyo lays ground for a new territorial claims against Russia, which will, of course, not end well for Japan. Tokyo is laying groundwork for a new territorial claims against Russia. Nikolai Patrushev, Russian presidential aide and maritime board chairman, said, commenting on the top Japanese diplomat's assertion that Russia had attacked Japan in 1945 and occupied the Kuril Islands well, okay, Japan, okay, I will not go through details there, by the way. Japan, if Japan wanted to have a peace treaty with Russia, and we still have no peace treaty, by the way, since the Second World War, Moscow and Tokyo have no peace treaty in a place, right? And all because of the Japanese, right? Stalin was too soft actually on Japan. If I was on his place, by the way, if I was leading Soviet Union, I would talk as a compensation for all the atrocities that Japan committed against Soviet people, against Chinese people, against everybody. I would talk Hokkaido Island too. Not just Kuril Islands, not just 4 Kuril Islands, all of it, and Hokkaido too. And if anybody in Japan say anything about it, I would let them continue discussion with their fish in the sea. That's it, man. No mercy to enemies, towards the enemies, man. Ever. Period. Right? And I think Moscow don't have to waste any time talking to Japanese leadership, by the way. Fuck him all, right? Fuck him all. What the hell is Japan, by the way? It's nothing. It's literally nothing, by the way. We should completely ignore those motherfuckers. That's it, man. I have no respect for them. Will never have any respect for Japanese, man. Japanese political class, that is, right? I don't give a damn about people there in Japan. I don't like them either, to be honest. But I don't hate them. Let's make it clear too. RT is reporting that Putin envoy names 2 global powers for joint projects in Arctic. Russia vows both the US and China as potential partners for future oil and gas projects in the Arctic and would consider freeway investment opportunities, according to Kirill Dmitriev, President Vladimir Putin's aide on international economic affairs. And well, if Japan had intellectual leadership, clever leadership, adequate people there, in that case, Japan, yet again, could benefit greatly with their normal relationships with Russia, but they are freaking morons, right? And therefore, they are out of business in Arctics. Otherwise, why not cooperate? Isn't it? They would yet again benefit greatly, but they are freaking stupid, man. I wonder how they managed to maintain their country and become and build up a technologically quite advanced economy, man. How did these stupid people manage to do this, man? I don't know. Maybe do it through US investments or something. I don't know, man. But they have stupid leadership, that's for sure, right? And when it comes to China, US investments into Russian Arctic, well, it's good for Russia, of course. It will be good for Russia, but I don't think US gonna partner with China in Arctic or anywhere else. By the way, relationships between US and China will only get worse from now and so on, right? I don't see US and China being partners, man. They are at least until US will be run by America First people. If America First people will actually take over the country, then yes, they might actually find it plausible to cooperate with China in different fields, right? But until then, no. Also interesting news that Russia tests Ansat helicopter with the new domestically produced 650 HP engines. The aircraft flew for 6 minutes as their crew assessed its stability and controllability. With the VK650V engines now fully made in Russia. Now this helicopter is completely Russia-based, right? Earlier, they were cooperating with others, but no, this export замещение, how you say it, export replacement, by the way, or import replacement, sorry, is working, and Russia is on the edge to begin mass production of completely domestically built aircraft soon, and well, helicopter, this civilian, clearly civilian one, helicopter will join too this success. And I will end this news segment, dear friends, with this report that sales of the new domestic cars increased in Russia in August, which is a good news. Overall car sales dropped, but domestically built car sales actually are sold more than in previous year in the same period of time. So sales of the new domestic cars in Russia in August 2025 increased by 2%, while sales of imported cars fell by 37%. That's August, by the way. It's quite understandable. August is summer in general is a holiday season, right? And people are busy with their holidays, not buying much. The Russian Ministry of Industry and Trade reported, citing data from their analytical company PPK. These data are based on their electronic vehicles passport system. In total, 877.6 thousand new cars were sold in the country in the first 8 months, which is 25% less than in the same period last year. More than 483,000 domestically built cars were sold there, which is also in year-on-year terms also decreased by 6%. Sales of the passenger cars amounted to 768.2 thousand units, light commercial vehicles 66,000, trucks almost 36,000, buses 7,000. Overall, numbers are decreasing. Maybe market is just overwhelmed with this all sorts of vehicles from Russia and from foreign car makers. And also, by the way, we should keep in mind that due to this high interest rate of the central bank, economy is no longer experiencing overheating. It's an opposite trend now is kind of happening, and therefore I think central bank will drop this month in September interest rates quite significantly to add some fuel to the economy, right? I remind you, dear friends, that in previous years Russian economy was overheating. And this was a big issue, right? And their finance ministry and central banker took some drastic measures to cool down economy. I mean, some people from the West, especially, that only hear news from Western propaganda outlets might and see this report of mine might be surprised. What overheating? I mean, your economy is not destroyed. No, man. Unlike expectations of the Western so-called elites, Russian economy was not just not destroyed, but overheating actually. And to cool down economy, finance ministry and central bank come up with all sorts of measures, by the way, right? Including high interest rate of the central banker, up to 21%, by the way, which is crazy high, isn't it? And they did successfully cool down economy, by the way. And now, maybe too much successfully even, and now economy actually needs some additional fuel, by the way. Right, and therefore, I guess central bank will drop interest rates significantly this month and before end of this year, and that will allow economy to feel a little better, and I think that will increase demand significantly. So maybe in last couple of months of this year, car sales will actually ramp up significantly. And not just car sales, by the way. Right now, when interest rate is still tremendously high, like 18%, you cannot, small and medium businesses, by the way, they just cannot take a loan, right? Because it's too expensive. It's just too expensive. Not just businesses, small and medium businesses, but also private citizens, by the way. I mean, I need to take a loan, for example, right? In order to maintain this project and work full time, if I want to stay in this business, then I have to take a loan now, right? Because my income is less than I spend on monthly basis, and I cannot take a loan because it's just too expensive. And I'm waiting now this month, central bank to drop these freaking interest rates. Hopefully they will drop at least 2-3%, right? And then commercial banks will also lower their percentage on the loans, and maybe in October I'll be able to take loan. But yes, it is it's each issue, by the way. These high interest rates do work, right? And the central bank and finance ministry were just too effective in their attempt to cool down economy, and now they have to reverse their process, right? In a controlled manner, of course, but this process have to be reversed, and it will happen. But nevertheless, it's good to see that Russian car manufacturers are doing quite okay. This year alone, they sold 483,000 vehicles, new vehicles, that is. And this number will definitely reach at least 600,000 before end of this year. Quite sure about it, right? So some good stuff there. They are more or less successfully competing with Chinese car manufacturers, by the way, which is not easy, though. Which is not easy, but they are doing. They are succeeding in this very difficult field, right? And that's it, dear friends, for the news segment for now. And so yes, that's it. Oh, I've been told that Rumble is no longer working. It's really. Let me check Rumble, dear friends, now. Is there issues with the internet? I don't have internet. Am I online now? Wow. Dear friends, can you write in the comment section, am I online on Rumble? Because I cannot open Rumble page. Rumble is working fine. Alan Richard is commenting right now. So maybe Rumble was completely blocked in Russia. Anya. Okay. Was there any super chat on Rumble until you were able to see it? So there was no super chat on Rumble. If there's gonna be any, by the way, I would not be able to monitor it right now. So my apologies if I would not be able to highlight your super chatter on Rumble. And there was no donations, right, through PayPal or something. So okay, no super chat, no donations. So there's nothing to highlight there. And I will join community chat now, dear friends. I will scroll faster. If I notice any question or the comment, I will react on it. Otherwise, that's it for today's first update. Later on today, I will have a second news update on my Patreon and Boosty pages. If you want to hear more from me, dear friends, more news, and not just news, but more information in general about live in Russia. Then well, there is a lot of extra content on my Patreon page and the Boosty page. And so let's scroll. Thank you all for being here, dear friends, for your attention. Nitish Kumar is sharing an interesting comment. Levan S400s took out a wax at 310 kilometer range. Wow, that's quite stuff, isn't it? That's impressive. That's impressive. No wonder India wants some more S400s, by the way, and maybe sites will negotiate transfer of technologies even so that India will be able to domestically produce. Maybe S400 is too classified, but I think S300, which is also a very capable system, maybe there will be agreement to produce in India. By the way, S300, latest variations of the S300, and eventually S400 turn. But that's quite impressive stuff you are saying. This plane was intercepted, hostile plane was intercepted by Indian S400 on 310 kilometer range. Oh, that's stuff, man. Michael Kennedy. Rumble is working again. Oh, okay, great. I was thinking maybe even through VPNs, Rumble is no longer operating. I was upset about it, but no, it's okay. Sometimes it happens, sir. There are some technical issues, but so also Michael Kennedy is commenting S500 can take out Elon's satellites. Well, I'm not an expert, isn't it, in the military, and therefore I don't know. But what I have read about S500 capabilities is that yes, they can bring down satellites, and they can bring down hypersonic aerial targets. That's the rumors. I mean, S400 is classified, by the way, in many ways. S400 is, of course, classified, right? So very little is known about this system, but we all read articles on the internet about different stuff, and from what I read, S500 is a tremendously capable system, and it can bring down. This is the only system that can actually successfully deal with hypersonic missiles, right? And also can bring down low orbit satellites. That's quite impressive stuff there, isn't it? But it is not for sale. Aziz is commenting, I don't think the S500 is for sale. Also, Russia made a big mistake selling S400 to Erdogan, that snake. Russia literally sold S400 to NATO. I mean, maybe, yes, they sold S400, by the way. Military industrial complex, and Moscow authorized that to Turkey. But to copy S400, it's not that easy, right? And whatever classified there, and whenever there is something on export, by the way, one should always keep in mind that it's a downgraded version. Russian S400 and Turkish S400 are not the same S400s with the same capabilities. Export variations of the weapons, all weapons, by the way, are always on a lower grade, downgraded, right? Because you don't want potentially your weapon system to be used against you, right? You always want to have something better. So therefore, I don't think Russia lose much while selling S400 to Turkey. I don't know exactly, I mean, why Moscow made such a decision. I can understand why Turkey wanted the S400, and why Greece wanted, for example, Russian air defense systems, and Greece also has S-300 if they did not give it to the regime, and some other Russian air defense systems, right? They wanted this because to be able to basically deal with each other. We all know Greece and Turkey are basically in a state of war, undeclared war, right? And their Patriots and all the other Western systems, by the way, are dependent on the countries they being produced in, right? And maybe turned off. I believe Patriot batteries, for example, U.S. can neutralize Patriot batteries from the distance. Same can be done with F-35 planes, by the way, that U.S. sells. They can disable F-35s, right? All F-35s that they sold to other countries. So to make sure that they have a weapon system, capable weapon system that can deal with their aerial targets of other NATO country, they needed Russian air defense systems. So that's why they brought Russian S-300 and S-400, right? But why Russia sell S-400 to Turkey, I don't know, man. I struggle to understand that. I didn't really think much about it. You know, if I spend too much time on that, probably I will find some logical chain there, right? But let's continue, dear friends. I'm scrolling now. Nitish Kumar is commenting, Levan, they did that sniper fire in Bangladesh and now in Indonesia. This is that's what they do, by the way. They don't really change much tactics that they use for decades, isn't it? They, I mean, Western Secret Services, by the way. They do. They have written books about it, right? And they use already proved tactics, proved to be effective tactics all over the world. You know, when they are engaged in all sorts of destructive operations, regime change or something else. So I'm not at all surprised that this is the case that you are sharing, and you know more about your region than I do. So, you know. Levan, France just said 2 medical facilities to prepare for war. What do you think? I don't know. I have not seen a report. Maybe they have some training or something, military exercises. Maybe they want their medics to be on high alert if France and UK are actually about to deploy their troops onto control territory, because they will have casualties, right, in that case. So I have not seen reporter. After this live stream, I will go through some news. Let's see what Russian media will report about it, if anything. And in next updates, I will share with you, you know, not just news but also my take on the topic. But yes, we know that, you know, France, UK first of all, and some other countries in some other globalist controlled countries in Europe, they are all about further escalation with Russia, and most likely they will deploy troops, by the way. Most likely they will deploy troops, and there will be direct clashes between Russian and these NATO troops. I don't think either of these NATO countries be able to invoke fifth article, right? Because Russia didn't attack those countries directly, right? And first, but Russia can always retaliate, right? And therefore, fifth article for them would not work, either for UK or for France or Germany, for that matter, if they will send also their troops. and any other, right? But if they plan to get engaged directly in hostility against Russia, then, well, it makes sense if they will prepare the medics, because they're going to have a lot of casualties, by the way. They should prepare cemeteries up front to bury their militaries, whatever will be left of them, right, to bury. And they should prepare medics to treat whoever was lucky enough to survive. You know, we're gonna exterminate them, and big time. If you think anybody cares here in Russia that, oh, France gonna deploy troops and then British gonna deploy troops, so we don't give a fuck, man. Let's be real here. We will kill them all. That's it. We will kill them all, man. No one has any fear, by the way, about war with NATO. Literally nobody. No one wants it, but if it comes to it, then we will kill them all, man. That's it. And there will be no mercy. They should not expect mercy from us, man. They're not going to be treated as Ukrainians are, right? Because Ukrainians we still consider to be part of our world, man, right? Brainwashed, yes, but still, they are our brothers and sisters. Even though brainwashed and out of their minds, but nevertheless, they are our brothers and sisters, and their treatment is very different towards Ukrainians than Western troops gonna receive, man. I said a million times, I hope Western societies would wake up and stop their crazy elites, but it's not happening, isn't it? It's just not happening. Only there is a tiny minority, well-informed, tiny minority in the Western countries that understands that their countries, their society is being pushed towards their disaster, but they cannot influence much, unfortunately. They cannot stop their elites because they have no numbers, right? And majority is brainwashed on such a scale that they literally applaud every freaking nonsense that their elites come up with. So, also, Christopher Bike or Big is commenting, Levan, others, have you heard anything in Russia about Russia building submarine bases in Venezuela? It would explain the blockade and the Navy plane flying next to North Fleet sub base. Anything? No. Last time Russian militaries were engaged with Venezuela was when it was at least when I pay attention to it, when two Russian Tu-160s strategic bombers flew to Venezuela a while ago, right? It did make headlines in the West, but this was unarmed strategical bombers. They had no missiles on board. It was just a demonstration and visit to another country. This kind of stuff happens. Russian militaries are helping Venezuelan militaries to adapt to whatever Russian weapon systems they have, and they do, by the way. For example, Venezuelan Air Force has a number of Su-30 planes, multi-role planes, right? And if properly used, by the way, those multi-role planes can actually do some crazy stuff and harm U.S. strike group significantly, right? But I have never heard anything about Russian, any sort of Russian base, military base in Venezuela. So I don't think Russia is building submarine bases in Venezuela. What for exactly? Russian nuclear submarines, they can stay underwater for months and months on end, right? Same can be done by U.S. nuclear submarines, by any other nuclear submarine, by the way. They can stay underwater for many, many months. And then again, Russian nuclear submarines usually are using North Pole, right? Arctics, by the way. Russian nuclear submarines usually are in Arctics, because of the ice shield. They just, they're much more invisible there, right? And invincible. And even if they will go into Atlantic, by the way, or into Pacific or Indian Ocean, they can stay underwater 5-6 months, right? If necessary, even longer than that. There is a supply vessels, right? If they need to get a resupply of food or something, it can be done at the sea, right? So does Russia really need some nuclear submarine or submarine base in Venezuela this close to US? No, because Russia is not seeking escalation with US, right? That's why Russia did not even try to put bases on Cuba again. Russia withdrew bases from Cuba, right? And despite all the hostility from the US, Moscow did not put their bases back. Because we don't seek no war, by the way. We don't really need war. We don't want war. If it comes to it, we will fight, of course. But we don't want it, and therefore we are not provocative in our policies. And anyone can see it, by the way, right? If there is will to actually see what is the reality. So I don't think there is any build-up of Russian submarine base in Venezuela. Yet again, if it comes to war between US and Venezuela, some private groups here in Russia, I don't know on what level Russia-US negotiations are, right? And therefore, I cannot tell if Russia on a state level will seek revenge on US if war will erupt between US and Venezuela, right? But what I can tell you is that most likely some private groups here in Russia or related to Russia will use any opportunity to revenge on US for all the deaths and destruction that Russian people and Russia faced due to US's involvement in this proxy war against Russia. And those private groups will send probably units of private military companies into Venezuela, weapons, munition, and the rest of the stuff, right? Just to, they will seek revenge always, by the way. If anybody thinks in the West that they can kill Russians with impunity, they are mistaken. They cannot. So they kill thousands of Russian citizens. I mean, Americans, Brits, French, Germans. We will kill thousands of them. That's how it's going to be, man. Blood for blood. I don't like the situation is this bad, but no one should think that they can kill Russians with impunity, man. They cannot. And they're going to be revenge one way or another, but they're going to be revenge, by the way. If US will, during these behind the closed door negotiations, will agree on the concessions before Russia, on tremendous concessions, and on withdrawal from this proxy war, in that case, Moscow, maybe on a state level, will not seek revenge. But private groups will seek revenge always, man. Always. And I think it was, if we reverse the situation, then Americans will do the same, right? So therefore, people in America would understand, I guess, that yes, they harm our people, so we will retaliate now and harm them. That's how this life works, by the way. You cannot just go around and kill people with impunity. You just cannot. And dear friends, Michael Kennedy is commenting, the Japanese refused to trade with the West in 19th century. They humiliated anyone who visited who wished to trade with them. Well, by the way, it's a very specific culture in Japan, right? I have never been there, but from what I read and what I see on the internet, until now, by the way, this is a society that is actually racist, and it's kind of normalized there to be racist, to be Nazi. They hate. They don't respect nobody, right? In their culture, it's they are like superior, right? They have this new moment of superiority, and all the foreigners that are visiting Japan, they've been treated. Very many of them have very bad experience, right? They not being treated well, and not just Indo-Europeans, let's say, right? But they hate even people from their own race, Mongoloids, by the way. They hate Chinese people, despise Chinese people, by the way. They despise Korean people. It's a very strange culture there in Japan, right? It's their own faking business. I'm not gonna tell them how to live, by the way. It's their way of life, right? Okay, I might find it disturbing, but it's their country, their society. What can I do about it, right? But I don't like Japan, man. What can I say? I'm real about it, right? I'm not playing no games that I'm all these games of political correctness and stuff, man. I don't like Turkey, by the way, and I was always open about it. I just don't like Turkey, right? As a state, I think existence of Turkey was a disaster. Emergence of Turkey, by the way, was absolute disaster for Orthodox Christianity, right? And sometime in the future, we will have a conversation. I will explain why I think so. After all, I mean, Constantinople is no longer called that, right, worldwide. And Constantinople was one of the main centers of Orthodoxy. In the West, people might see Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, as a capital of Eastern Roman Empire, but in Orthodox Christianity, we see it a bit differently, right? Yes, it was the capital of Byzantium, by the way, Byzantium Empire, but it was a center of one of the crucial centers of Orthodox Christianity that was destroyed due to Westerners, by the way. I don't think many people know in the West that during these crusades, by the way, they were, and crusades were Western phenomena, by the way, not Eastern phenomena. Eastern Christianity was not, there was few occasions when Orthodox fighters were actually engaged in that, but this, in general, these crusades were Western phenomena, right? And they robbed, by the way, during one of their last crusades, they basically terrorized Constantinople, robbed Constantinople, destroyed Constantinople, weakened so much so that they were unable to withstand their then assault from Turks, right? And city failed, and their empire failed as a result. Byzantium failed. So Turkey, I don't like Turkey, by the way. I will never like Turkey as a state. I think it's a historical mistake of existence of that country, right? And I don't like Japan, man. What can I say about it? I just don't like them, man, period. I don't like nothing about them. Nothing. And I will say it openly, man. I'm not gonna play no freaking political correctness and stuff like that. If I don't like something or someone, I will say it. That's it. Nidish Kumar is commenting. Levan, I want to know about new MiG in development. Nidish, I would like to know some more too. But it's complete unknown, right? There is only rumors on internet that Mikoyan Gurevich Constructor Bureau is working on this new long-range high altitude interceptor. That's the that's the requirements, but even this is rumors, by the way, or speculations. We just don't know. There are only information that MiG is working on something to replace MiG-31. Some media outlets in alternative media and elsewhere even using MiG-41 designation for it. But I just don't know, Nidish. I mean, I can. Why should we speculate when there is literally nothing is known about the project? Does Russia has expertise to build this high altitude, long range interceptor? Of course. I mean, MiG-25, MiG-31, clear demonstration of that, isn't it? And if there is need on such an interceptor, then Russia can deliver. Russian military industrial complex, Russian scientists can deliver such interceptor. Rumors are even that that plane would be able to reach a lower orbit of the planet. It will have 2 different type of engines for that reason, which is yet again only speculation, right? So I don't know, Nidish. I don't know. There is literally nothing is known about this project that allegedly MiG Constructor Bureau is working on. So I would like to know some more too, but very little is nothing is known. Not just very little, but nothing. Just a pure speculation, sir. And by the way, this is it. This is it for now. Thank you very much for your attention, dear friends, sir, for your support. If you like the video, and if you can, dear friends, please click that like button there. It might help to reach wider audience. Leave some commentary. If you want to support my work, you can do it. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And yes, that's about it. Later on today, I will publish second news update on my Patreon and Boosty pages. Have a wonderful day, dear friends, and take care. Bye for now.